Chapter 2 Dashing Tales of the Good King Part 1 Trust in Magic. As the Good King, Jill Strongbrew began his reign with a joyful festival of music and dancing. To the surprise of many skeptics, and the Good King most of all, travelers, emissaries, artists, and all manner of people from far and wide visited the Kingdom of Heart and Sword, and each agreed that they took part in some of the greatest merrymaking of all time. There was a lobster-eating contest, games of sport, a pig race, mud wrestling, dance circles, one-act plays presented in uncensored elven absurdity, and, of course, cakes abound. During one wild night, the Good King found himself playing hide-and-seek in the haunted forest. Chance, however, led him back to the old lair of the evil mage. Inspection of the grim cavern brought no insight into why the evil mage had chosen the haunted forest to experiment, at least not to Jail's eyes. Hardly a thing had changed since Jail's escape. The cask of wine was still there and corked tight. He made sure to finish it off straight away. The bear pelts of the evil mage lay on the floor, but the body was gone. This meant the evil mage had faded into nothingness, or had been revived and gone somewhere else, naked. The Good King sat on the cobblestone floor and remembered his foe. Why would someone want to be immortal if they were a loner? He wondered. The more the Good King thought about the evil mage, the more puzzling his experience in captivity became. For he could find no recipe that called for blood of a half-breed, divine blood, or even Viking blood. The Good King went through a whole range of emotions. He laughed, he cried, he became frustrated, he became violent, and finally he became very quiet, and eventually calmed down. Then he realized that the old Viking ways he had loved and thought to restore were nothing compared to the potential of the gifts of magic, if this magic could be mastered. Some scrolls and books containing knowledge of regeneration and magical energies had been left behind, and when the Good King returned to the party, he took some of them under his arm. That night, as the festivities went in ambrosia, he spoke with his advisors about the possibility of studying magic in his kingdom. In their drunken haze, the advisors agreed with a roar of excitement and pelvic thrusts. Magic? Oh yeah, I love magic. Give it to me, big boy, they howled. What have we been doing, diddling around with tea and cake? Let's turn it up a notch. Yeah, magic, magic, magic. When fall came, the festivities were at an end. The Good King set to work developing a plan to grow ingredients for magical potions and trade them with his neighbors. In those days, no one put much trust in magic. It was widely thought among scholars of the time that magic was either trickery or demonic powers of some sinister god that had slipped into the mortal realm from the dark world. That wasn't even if you were superstitious. Most folk had never witnessed magic, and that helped to encourage the idea that magic had never existed, and whatever role it played historically was only to explain the unexplainable. I was once thought lost in the haunted forest, and yet I return. I was once afraid of magic, and now I respect it. Our ignorance of magic has made us vulnerable to the smallest spells. What if a real threat were to come? The Good King had asked his court. Their, now sober, reply was too stern and conservative for the Good King to bear. And he'd had enough of grumblings in the face of the greatness he saw was his for the taking. He thought that if a potion of healing was in the hands of a soldier, they could return home from a war without the burden of terrible wounds or dismemberment. There were many kingdoms at war to the far southeast of the continent at that time, known collectively as the Golden Fellows, which had once been united republic of some sort, but had insulted and dishonored its way into years of feuding, revenge-killing, city-state skirmishes, and assassination attempts. The good king thought, at the very least, they would be desperate enough to take an interest in potions with healing properties. So the good king famously ended the day's discussion by saying, "Who says nay to both the old and the new, when the now is boring, but the sky is blue?" With that he set his plan in motion, growing, testing, researching, training, and educating. In just 3 years, despite his critics, the good king had established production and trade with 12 other kingdoms. He had brought renewed prosperity to the land, and that was only the beginning.